I guess we're starting.
Okay.
That just started on its own. Hi everybody, welcome to Spirit Science. I'm Diane Lancier of soulrestoration.ca.
And I'm Heather Garrett from planetbotanics.com.
And I am Basha Goin from Adishesha Yoga Zone.
And do you want to say what your URL is or anything like that?
Do you have a website?
Adishesha.com.
Do you want to spell that?
ADIADA, and I can't SHESHA.com.
Okay, COM.
COMD.
And then
We're trying something new with
doing
the microphone
something,
today.
I'm going to
so-
actually bring it closer to us. Maybe that will.
Okay.
God. I'm just going to
That's all right.
rest it
That's
on your
okay.
knee. There we
Absolutely.
go.
We can just
New
get
friends
acquainted.
today.
We're getting really friendly.
So today we wanted to talk about yoga as therapy. Because I went to my first class last week with my 18-year-old. And I don't know what he was expecting. He did all right for a stiff young man.
He smiled a lot.
It was a grimace, actually. So I think in a lot of yoga we've kind of gotten away from it as a therapy, I think, in my mind anyway. And so maybe you can explain why you're doing this particular, and that's not a course, it's a class.
Yes.
Yeah.
One could argue that any yoga practice is therapeutic, and I agree. Just like food is healing, I also agree. But for certain modalities of healing, certain type of food, certain type of flavors, certain types of scents are going to be more healing depending what you need. So yoga as therapy is a way of slowing things down and paying attention and create space for the body to find its way and get a little bit healthier, a little bit more at ease, not just the body but also the mind. As we know, we run on a premise in the yoga world that the mind and body and the spirit, if you believe in that, is working together. It's not separate. What we do to the body will affect your mind, and what you do to the mind will affect the body, definitely. Sometimes you work on your body and different emotions come up, and vice versa. You can either invest in a good shrink, or you can invest in some sort of manual and body therapy, and you might get similar results. So yoga therapy has the primary goal for the therapy is to create enough space and opportunity to look closely at various patterns in the body primarily that have been established that are not necessarily healthy, that are detrimental to the health. Some of those patterns can be inherited because they could be structural. Some of it are due to injuries or bad habits or just being sloppy and not paying attention. So in a yoga therapy, we look closer rather than overall a yoga flow class and general classical positions, is to zero in on different parts of the body to work a little bit slower or closer on opening stuck portions of the body, making them flow. Also to realign, reestablish a good balance between what is weak, what is strong. We strengthen the weaklings so they can support the whole structure. We also soften things that are too hard and not allowing the flow to go through. So sometimes people say, well, I don't need therapy because I'm super strong, I'm an athlete. In fact, I do work with a lot of elite athletes. I'm part of the CrossFit box. So it's not just the therapy for the losers and the weak ones. A lot of people actually...
Yoga isn't just for losers.
A lot of people that really pay attention to their body because they have to tune up their equipment are turning into some sort of therapy to nurture the body so it is in a great working order. A lot of times we have cars or bikes and we so pay attention. We take it for tune-ups, we change oil, we change wheels and everything because we want it to run smoothly.
Right.
The body, however, we leave it at the last moment and we're not taking care of it. Either we're not proactive or we're not taking care of little injuries, micro tears, and they build up until it's too late. And then it's too late, or it takes a lot of money and takes a lot of effort to undo the pattern. So just like we take care of our instruments, well, this is our instrument. We're trying to proactively work with the body so that it is in a working order, or deal with some injuries, or simply balancing things out. Sometimes we are born with a shorter leg, some scoliosis, or we sit at a desk, and we just need to undo what we normally do to the body and pay attention. Just mere act of paying attention and giving yourself permission to give yourself a little time for yourself. It's a good space to start to heal, because the mind changes the focus. Okay, this is me time. And I'm going to pay attention, and just starting to pay attention to what is not working properly or what the body needs. The body often knocks and say hello.
And then knocks
You're
a little harder,
ignoring
and
this.
a little harder.
You don't.
Yeah.
Until it's much more difficult to deal with it.
Yeah.
So you come to the mat, you work with different props, you pay attention, and it does make a big difference.
Tell me why men have so much more trouble with, is it like not necessarily strapping men, but flexibility seems to be a common occurrence. I mean, my kid's only 18.
Yes.
My God, that's scary.
Why did he have trouble?
Oh, he
with
was so
flexibility?
stiff. Like,
Okay.
yeah, he
Well, my
kept
brother's the
bending
stiffest
and-
man too in this universe. I think generally it's true. It's not always the case that men tend to be a little bit stiffer. Partially, I think it's how the constitution is structured. Even the hips. Often when you go to a yoga class, women are much more open in the hips. Well, physiologically, anatomically, the hips are composed differently, and for a good reason. We need to give birth.
Right.
If we had hips, like guys have hips, it just wouldn't happen. But also, I think general constitution is a little bit tighter. But also the activities that men and women traditionally have chosen. Guys, not to have stereotypes, but it is the fact that often guys use the legs a lot more. They run perhaps more. When they go to CrossFit training, which I'm part of, they take a lot more weights. They do squatting with a lot more weights, because generally they're stronger. Sorry guys, men's are generally stronger. Not always the case, but as a general rule. So the activities that men engage and versus women that engage are different, but structurally we are different. And in the Constitution also, some people will be very flexible, some people will be stiff, both men and women, but generally men are a little stiffer.
It might be, sorry, can I interrupt? It might
Absolutely.
also be a reflection of emotional stiffness, right? So if your body is expressing your emotional state, generally speaking, women are much more comfortable with their emotions, or than men are. So I'm just thinking maybe it's
It's a possibility.
product of that too.
I think that there's a reason why people call some people tight ass. They don't refer to their buttocks.
Yes.
I do believe that people all of us, under stress, we become tightened.
Yeah.
Even our body posture tightens. And if we experience chronic stress, we become formed in a different way. You hardly ever see people that are super happy like this and super depressed to be like this. It's just the body reflects the mental attitude and the mental constitution. So I would agree with that. Also, it's just in a protective mode. You're keeping it together, literally.
Yes.
And it's quite possible that men traditionally have been taught to keep it under wraps.
Yes.
Not to show the stress.
Totally.
Yeah.
Where women were taught that it is okay to explain, to open up, to cry, and men should hide it. Well, where are you going to hide it?
Yeah.
Mind, possibly, but
In
we
your
already
body.
know that whatever is happening in your head, the patterning, the energy flow in your thinking, has to have a container. That container is the body. So if the body has to hold it, well, it's going to hold it somewhere, and if there is tightness. That's why often when you go for manual therapy, whether it's massage or some energy work, the hell can break loose, and you don't even know why, because it's so embedded in the body that you even forgot the issue.
When I was, before I had my son, when I was trying to conceive, I had this really nasty spasm in my lower back, in my sciatic. And I saw my chiropractor, And all he did was, he basically was doing energy work more than chiropractic, but he just kind of stuck his finger on that spot and just left it there. And I started bawling.
Mm-hmm.
I started bawling on the table, and he said, go home, take the day off, and just, take care of yourself. And it was, I mean, I'm a huge believer in the mind, body, energy, spirit, feeling connection. So, yeah, absolutely.
That's why we're all going to have a 5-minute cry at the end of this.
I didn't tell you. We're doing cry yoga.
Cry yoga, yeah.
In the yoga practice, there's a premise, and I quote Richard Freeman because I like that quote, that the mind, which is chitta, and the energy, which is prana, the chitta and prana swim like two fish in tandem. Whatever prana does, chitta does. Whatever chitta does, prana does.
Mm-hmm.
So you can either work on the mind, or you can look at the mind and work with that, knowing fully well what the body is doing, because it's doing exactly the same. The body, the energy within the body, is like a medium for your experience, for your thoughts to be experienced and held.
Mm-hmm.
If you disturb or stretch or look or shift anything within the body, this will affect the patterning of your mind, and vice versa. So there is a lot of different therapy, healing therapy, whether it's working physically, hands-on, massage or Reiki or chiropractic, or stretching and breathing and feeling things and paying attention. This will have results in your whole being.
Yeah.
It has to.
Yes.
It has no choice. So in a yoga therapy, we take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
I usually don't emphasize too much on the emotional side, but it does have a huge effect. Usually when things are stuck in a body, if you can release it and allow the flow to flow, you feel better.
Mm-hmm.
People come out of yoga classes, even regular yoga classes, and say, why do you do yoga? I say, well, I just feel better. It saves my life. Why? I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels good. But it really is you unlocking patterns that are stuck and let them flow, and you create an opportunity for healing.
Mm-hmm.
I think also allowing yourself to be in your body is so healing in itself, because when you're just sort of going day to day in your mind, and most of us function out of our minds instead of our, beingness or energy or body, that connection to your body and feeling your body is very, very important, because your body is, anyway, in my belief, your body is the vessel that your spirit has chosen to, carry you through life. So of course you've chosen a body that's going to support you in that. And when you're not in tune and talking to your body and in touch with it, then you've got to disconnect there. So I think just having that space for doing that is very healing in itself, and it's going to bring you a bit of peace and a bit of...
And the other part of that is that you're taking time for yourself.
Yes.
So by committing in the first place, you've come a long way, right? Because most people won't even say, oh, I don't have an hour. Oh, well, it'll be 2 hours by the time I get down there and I get back and I have to get to my job, and I know that I make all these excuses. But it's an investment.
But I think it's important too that, we're, like on this show, we're talking to a lot of different practitioners of different modalities,
Mm-hmm.
and what's right for one is not right for the other,
Mhm.
right? So I like the idea of yoga. I don't gravitate to it. I've tried it. It's just not something that
You should
I...
come to my class.
You mean
I dare
should.
Should is a dirty word, but
Yeah.
it often works.
But that's the thing, right? So it's not to say that yoga is for everybody, or what I do is for everybody, or crystals are for everybody, or Reiki. It's tune into your body and go with what speaks true to you. And go with that, right?
For sure. And so you still are taking the time for the things that you believe
Absolutely,
are helping,
yeah.
even though it may not be yoga.
Yeah.
You're still taking the time.
Yeah. But because you were saying, people make excuses, and that's true, but maybe they're making excuses because they think they should be doing something that they don't really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you should just own that you don't
You
feel like
should
doing
just
it.
own.
You should. No, but just own what it is that you want or don't want instead of making excuses, right?
I think
Yeah.
the process is the same. like yoga is therapy, whether it's crystal, whether it's yoga, whether it's the process is really the same.
Yeah.
The medium, the modality is different. It's a different
Exactly.
sets of
Yeah.
tools. Yoga is just a toolbox to do the same thing when you
Exactly.
do that doing something else. It's just one of the ways and opportunities. I think the process is the same. Basically, you set the time,
Yeah.
you pay attention, you listen deeply. Whether you listen deeply to working with crystals, you're creating space for your body, like you said, to be in your body.
Mm-hmm.
But being in your body simply is a practice of paying attention and to
Mhm.
be present. You can do that to your mind. You can do it to other people. You can do it to the universe, to the
Yeah.
environment. It's not even so much that the body is necessarily the most important thing. I think it's the process of paying attention, of being present, of being mindful. And then the content, how you're going to do it, can be substituted.
Mhm.
Some people are more in the brain. They can pay more attention to the mind. Some people, or they may be switching. Some people can use knitting.
Mm-hmm.
Some people
She
can
doesn't
use
even know that you're a knitter. She said
You
that.
are. I
Oh
like
yeah, I'm a
knitting.
huge knitter. Yeah.
Some people can create all kinds of healthy products. Some people can do gardening. I don't really think that it's absolutely necessary to do one thing or the other. It's the space of kindness,
Yeah.
space of attention, and the space of honoring yourself and
Yeah.
making yourself a priority.
Yeah.
Yes.
And paying attention to what is happening. In yoga, simply, I'm using the tool because we have this body.
Mm-hmm.
The body is accessible 24/7, for the most part, unless you're just doing some floating or whatnot. But for the most part, the body, the breath, your thoughts are with you. You don't need equipment. You don't need fancy yoga tights to be with the body.
They're
So you
cute
can-
though.
They're very cute. So it is just one way for those that gravitate to working with the body. It could be dancing, it could be ballet or Pilates, or even physical workout, or running, or swimming. It doesn't really matter. Whether you sit and do nothing, or run like crazy, you still are using the body.
Mm-hmm.
How you use it, depending on your ability and what makes you tick.
So how does CrossFit fit into this question?
Okay.
Because this is a new obsession for you.
Well, a year and a half new. I've always liked to work with the body, whether it's biking or crazy swimming or bungee jumping.
Wait, what's crazy swimming?
Jumping in a lake when it's really cold.
7 o'clock in
okay.
the morning
Facebook
every day,
pictures.
and really early, driving very far, and it's cold, freaky cold, and you still enjoy it.
Okay.
That's
CrossFit
crazy
for
swimming.
one.
So I like to work with CrossFit because the body, you have to pay attention. It forces me to pay attention. When you take the bar, when you do a snatch, or when you hold a lot of weight over your head and press, there is not too much margin of error.
Mm-hmm.
If you're distracted, you can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it with a paper thing, you can cheat. If you do it with a lot of weight, the body will tell you exactly where you're wrong. So it simply creates an opportunity for me to pay attention. Just like when you want to lose weight, you want to create circumstances that is helpful. You don't keep sugar in your house. You take the cookies out of your cabinets. You tell people that you're not eating chocolate, so every time you're in a public, if you're eating chocolate, you have to own up that you're eating chocolate. In CrossFit, you're taking the body to some extremes, but not for the extreme purpose. It's you're going to have to pay very, very, very careful attention. And then the body speaks to you loudly. I also experience a lot of pleasure because I'm testing my body. So it's almost like there is a conversation. You mentioned being in your body.
Mm-hmm.
When you train and when you sweat, when you get tired, your breath is up front, right there staring in your face. Your blood is flowing. It's easier to listen and to pay attention and to play with it. So it's almost, for me, it's like an experiment in a conversation. And it's just yet another way to help me focus. Some people do candles, some people do music, and that brings their attention to what they're doing. So anything, I believe, any modality that allows you to be more present, to be more real, to not lie to yourself, because we are so good at it, and it brings you to the present moment, then it's a win situation. So that's how I like
That's a really good point about present moment, because that's really the only moment that matters.
And you get a pretty nice shape and strong, and you can show off on your tank top. That's a bonus that I like, but that's not why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I'm doing it.
It's not the only reason why you're doing it.
That's not the only reason. I like the effects.
Yes.
But
it's not why you're doing it.
The reason that I keep doing it is because when I just arrived to the gym, to the box, there is an adrenaline, there's a dopamine shooting, and I said, I'm doing something for me.
Yeah.
I'm working hard for me because I'm worth it, because I can feel alive, because I feel present. And it's just, you walk out, you have tons of problems, you walk in, you kick your butt, and you feel, okay. So it's also a form of therapy. Why? Because it comes back to your present moment, to the feeling of you being alive. And when you can come back to yourself, things shift. You just shift perspective, so you're not so distracted with all the bullshit, with all the bullshit and your little problems and other people's little problems. You're here. And right now, here at the present moment, there is no problem. It's usually a little further or a little back.
Yeah, exactly.
Good point.
I wanna say that what's interesting to me, and I hope that as people watch the show, that on top of learning about different modalities and different ways of living life and caring for yourself, that you see that all of the people that we have on are expressing themselves in the way that feels true to them. So they're using modalities and learning and the things that are good for them and that are working for them. And again, it doesn't mean it's good for you, but that's good for you, and something else is good for somebody else, and that is like the best thing to do, right? To be expressing what works for you and what's good for you, and again, like you said, what is allowing you to be in the moment, what's allowing you to take time for yourself, to be selfish, to take care of yourself, and that's the best thing. And I hope that people pick that up as well, right? It's really
what we're offering is a menu.
Yeah.
Here's what works for you, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. That's maybe I'll try one of those classes, or maybe I'll try that meditation that I saw the other day.
Yeah.
Just to give people starting off points to see whether it resonates or not.
Yeah, I think it's a very valid point, because there are certain universal. What do we want? We want to be happier. We want to be more at ease. We want to feel free. We want to feel inspired, connected, useful, thriving, curious. I mean, these are universals that probably, if you ask anybody, most of us want it.
Yeah, I mean,
here it comes. I don't know what it is, but here it comes.
Well, no, I mean, we think we want it, but I think that's one of the lies that people tell themselves. They think they want it, but not everybody is going out and doing what they need to do to get that. Or sometimes they think, well, no, I want it, but I can't really have it, or I want it, but it has to come from somebody else. And
that's the biggest fallacy,
you're creating it by doing your own practice of yoga and CrossFit and your crazy swimming. You're not getting it from somebody else. You're getting it from you, and that's important.
You can only get it from you.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But that's not what the Hallmark card says.
Yeah.
I don't do Hallmark cards.
There's for that too.
But that's what I'm saying. People say that they want peace and they want happiness and joy and all of these things, but not everybody is doing the work that they need to do in order to achieve that internally.
Nobody knows necessarily how, or they don't have a habit of doing the work or the attitude. Some people say, I'll be happy when I have that, as opposed to, I'll be happy and then
Yes.
something. So
Let me create the happiness in my life.
The attitude sometimes needs to, not sometimes, always needs to come first.
Yeah.
For things to change, not when things change, I'll change my attitude, because
Absolutely.
it's the other way around. Not everybody has the capacity right away to do that.
Yeah.
I would imagine there's nobody who is born and say, I'm going to be the miserable bugger for the rest of my life. I genuinely believe that people want to feel better. Some people are not willing to do anything. Some people don't know how. Some people have been involved in such a self-damaging pattern, self-pity, lack of self-esteem, then it's very difficult. Subconsciously, they're going to chop themselves on every corner to do that. So I agree with that. But sometimes there is a little bit of help from the outside to guide you, not to do it for you.
Absolutely.
But to guide you how to invite you into opportunities where you can discover that you have to do that thing.
The difference would be, for example, if, well, it doesn't work for yoga, but with like energy work, you know, the difference between sort of doing your work and exploring yourself and then asking somebody, can you do this for me? Can you clear my chakras for me? Can you know what I mean? Like, we're in the energy world, people often expect the practitioner to do the work for you. It's easier that way. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't translate to yoga because you can't do yoga for somebody else.
Actually,
but
I think that what you just said is true universally everywhere. We expect in relationships other people to make us happy. When we go to the doctor, we expect the doctor to fix it. We expect everybody else to be responsible for our happiness or our mood swings or our everything. I think that's universally true. And as far as yoga is energy work. Any modality that changes things is energy work.
No, I mean a person
is everywhere.
I mean, I can't go to you and say, could you do yoga for me? Like, if I'm going to do yoga, I got to do it myself.
As opposed
is
to
what
Reiki.
I meant. As opposed to with an energy work, like Reiki, or, you know, people will say, oh, or can you pray for me?
Yes.
Instead of doing or sometimes they're doing what they can, but sometimes people will really just rely on other people to do things for them.
I wonder where that came from, because I mean, it's obviously societal, but you know, when a child is born, they're perfect. Everything about them is perfect. Even their excrement is perfect. Everything. And then little by little, well, as a mother, you know, you've seen the other side of that. So but then little by little, it's you shouldn't do this. It's not right to do that. This is what you should do instead. And those rules come up. So there's that part of it. And then there's also the not taking charge, so becoming the victim. A lot of people have their stories, may not be working for them, but it's their story, and they're comfortable with it. I can't do yoga because my back's bad.
Yes.
I think it's really important to, like, there is in society, there's so much, we're so disconnected from our own power. With my son, who's 6, I try as consciously as possible to parent and I always try to instill in him his own knowledge of his power. But even then, you know, like, he won't believe me, or he'll say no, or, you know, I'll say, well, do you want to just get rid of the pain? And he's like, no. Okay,
he's honest.
You want to hang on to it, or you know, when I'm telling him something that he must do, I also try to balance that with how he's his own boss as well. We've had that conversation. You're your own boss, but sometimes mommy has to be the boss, you know? So it's interesting. Oh, my nose is leaking. So anyway, just random. Anyway, so it is interesting when you have a child to see how they're just so societally we're managed. So we have to. You said something at one point about undoing stuff. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm just gonna wipe my nose.
So it is undoing all the lessons, or a lot of the lessons, a lot of the things that we've learned that have become part of our story and that we believe are true
Yeah.
for us,
Yeah.
each one of us. I was abused as a child, therefore I can't do blah blah blah.
Yeah.
The story of your past, which has nothing to do, if you believe in the present moment, nothing to do with now. If you can make that change.
Yeah.
But otherwise, there are tons of people that are stuck like that.
Well, just like I gave this example of the mind and the pattern of the body, it is believed in the yoga practice, and it's a universal and healing practice, that if you think certain thoughts, let's say you have an experience and if you have a certain pattern of the thought, if you could draw it, if you repeat this thought, if you repeat that pattern in the body is going to be established. That pattern in the body that is established is going to throw out the same type of thinking. So that you're going to have a particular matrix. You're going to look in a particular way through fascial connections. You're going to be thinking in a particular way over and over and over. So to undo that pattern, you need quite a bit of time and a lot of paying attention, because otherwise automatically you're going to have the same thing. And it's going to feed you because it's going to feel right. It will feel at home. Whether you have been taught this pattern by society, some of it where you developed it as a coping strategies, some of it you just didn't know what to do and it got established, is set. Some of it could be that maybe you have been born not completely perfect, but maybe you came with a particular predisposition. We are born with a particular constitution. We're born crooked. We're born with tilted hips and with scoliosis. Not everything is functional. Some of it is structural. You are born and your immune system is weak. Maybe your mind in constitution is weak. So you're born with a particular predicament, and in the society we always judge how much is nurture or nature. Regardless of why the pattern is formed, the pattern is formed. To undo it, to change it, requires present moment, being with your body, being with your mind, commitment, like you said, to the work, and honoring that you are important, that you do have power, that you are co-creating what you have here. But it has to be consistent, systematic, because pattern doesn't happen, boom. It happens by repetition, confirmation, repetition, confirmation, repetition, confirmation. So what happens is we try to undo it, then it's not working, and we give up and we go to another modality. That doesn't work for me because I tried and it doesn't work. And it usually takes you years to get into a particular pattern, even if you're a kid. You're a few years old kid. You have your patterns, you have your mom's patterns, you have society patterns. To shift it, you have to be super vigilant. You have to be very committed. You have to come back over and over and over to the present moment, regardless of what modality you do. You want to be a good knitter, you knit.
I'm really committed to the knitting.
You want to be anything. It requires some experience and diligence. But the process, it's always coming back to the present moment, looking at what is, whether it's in your body, whether it's in your energy, whether it's in your anything, and while paying attention, creating shifts. Usually once you really see what's going on, you say, uh-oh. It's when you don't look. That you just go on an automatic pilot and you do the same thing. And then you say, I'm never going to do it again. Boom!
Which is more comfortable for most people, I have to say.
Yeah.
Or up for a large amount of people. It's like, this is it. This is all there is.
Yeah.
It's easy. Let's do the same thing over and over.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to have to wrap it up, because this went by really fast.
It did. It went by super fast.
So
it's a testament to you.
But it is. I think it's fascinating that you talk body, I talk energy, and we're talking about the same thing. So
because it is the same thing.
Exactly. Absolutely, it is the same thing. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, that was
My
awesome.
pleasure.
And you're going off on an adventure in the next couple of weeks.
I'll be in my body.
Awesome.
I'll be biking, I'll be touring, and I'm going to try not to get hurt, but if I do, I'll go to yoga as therapy.
There you go. Perfect.
All right. Well, thanks for everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you for your attention.